Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, and good morning. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. It's Tuesday. We have an incredible show for you today. We have some interesting guests that you want to meet, but I'm going to tell you right now, you definitely want to share this show. I got a feeling based on the conversation I had backstage that this show is going to be interesting and engaging. And there's someone in your network who needs this information. Maybe they're a new entrepreneur, a new business owner. They're just starting out and they want to learn from the experts. And they won't have this information unless you go ahead and share the show with them. So send that text, send that tweet, make that post, send that email. But as I always say, friends don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. So while you're introducing the show to your friends, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first guest, Mr. David. David is, hi, David. David Simons is also known as the Mediapreneur. He is passionate about inspiring and encouraging others to discover, develop, and distribute their purpose by maximizing media technology. He's an entrepreneur, public speaker, author, and trainer. His work and creativity have attracted the likes of Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, churches, and high-profile entrepreneurs. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm well, Sharifah. Thank you for having me on the show. Truly an honor.
Thank you for being here. It's an honor to have you on the show. So tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
Yes. Well, my name is David D. Simons. I am of Ghanaian descent. My parents are from Ghana, West Africa. And I always start with my upbringing. I grew up in a strict household. But like I said, they're from Ghana. And I was given 4 options: become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, or accountant. I didn't go down the path that I was laid out for me to become an engineer. Instead, I went into media and probably used a tool called MySpace. If anybody remembers that.
Yay, I heard of MySpace.
Yeah. In college, I was using that for fun. I didn't know it would be an industry. I utilized Facebook. I started helping friends of mine who were creatives, artists, musicians. And then that led from me leaving California to go to Philadelphia, to New Jersey, and then eventually Philadelphia to work for this company called TerraCycle, where I manage Fortune 500 company partners like Kraft, Frito-Lay, Huggies. And then I left and transitioned from there to start Kingdom Social Media, in which today we help speakers, trainers, coaches, consultants, and high-profile entrepreneurs to dominate their market online, leveraging social media.
I love it. So much information. We got a full step-by-step along the way. I am going to come back to you, David. I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, the lovely Miss Hope Wilder. Hope is a school founder and trainer and consultant in collaborative decision-making processes to help make sure everyone's voices are heard. She's the author of Let's Decide Together, a book about making decisions with children. Good morning, Hope. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifah. I'm doing really well. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I worked in education about 14 years before I decided to found my own school based on principles of encouraging children to have a democratic voice in how to run the school. It's something I'm really passionate about, empowering children's voices. And currently I work to teach collaborative decision-making to teachers and parents and school administrators to help build schools and families where children are included in decisions that are important in their lives. It might be anything from deciding where to go on a field trip to how to use a discretionary budget, to the actual rules of the school, and how to get things done in a family. So that's me in a nutshell.
What are you passionate about, Hope?
I'm really passionate about empowering children, and especially to raise children who are going to be engaged citizens and to help build a better future.
I love it. Now, Hope, we are going to come back to you. I want to go ahead and introduce my next guest, the amazing Miss Carolina. Carolina is a certified alcohol-free life coach who helps powerful women make alcohol insignificant in their lives. She's worked with thousands of clients through her online courses and coaching to change their drinking habits and unleash a new level of health, happiness, and potential to go after their biggest dreams. Good morning, Carolina. How are you? You gonna take the mute?
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I'm so excited to be here today. And I'm getting a little more personal because this is a taboo topic in our society. We don't really talk about alcohol very often. You know, the times we do talk about it is when we're planning to go drinking. Maybe we're going to a happy hour or a winery trip or a dinner party with friends. And then we talk about it on the other end, the very last extreme, where people hit rock bottom and have to go to AA and are dealing with alcoholism. And the thing is because of that, we don't really talk about alcohol in the middle. We don't really talk about normal people's drinking habits and whether or not they're serving them, the role of alcohol in our lives. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping women determine whether their, wine with dinner or their happy hours with their friends are really helping them align their life with their deepest values and their biggest dreams. And my book, Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier, More Confident You, helps you experiment with a new lifestyle so that you can see the benefits of yourself, of making alcohol less significant in your life, so that then you are turned on and give yourself the space to go after much bigger dreams.
Wow, I'm impressed. Now I'm going to ask you a question, Carolina, that I was about to ask Hope. And then I'm like, no, this is fun. This is when I just go all over the place, because I was thinking about Hope in making this decision to make the world a better place. But Carolina, was there some incident, something that happened to where you went, okay, this is important. I have to do this. Let me talk to women about not having alcohol or as much alcohol in their lives?
Absolutely. And it was really fueled by my own personal transformation. I didn't have that rock bottom story. I drank pretty much like everyone else around me. And yet I couldn't shake the feeling every Monday morning from going out on the weekend that I felt just completely demoralized and unmotivated. And I was stuck. I was stuck in a 9-to-5. I wasn't living out my purpose. I was just kind of going with the motions through life and thinking that happy hour at the end of the weekend was the highlight of my week. And I didn't realize how unfulfilled I felt. And when I changed my relationship with alcohol, when I took a break, I discovered the most euphoric feeling, this empowerment that I really had all the tools within me to discover my dream life. And baby step by baby step, I started creating it. So just removing that one little thing was the catalyst that I needed to literally transform everything in my life, become an entrepreneur, become an author, literally live out my biggest dreams. And I'm not an anomaly. Most women I work with have the same exact experience. This one little thing changes and they get more confident, they get more happy, they feel more self-love, and they get more empowered to discover their purpose and actually go after that. So I really truly think we can make the world a better place by being really mindful and intentional and introspective about our alcohol habits and asking ourselves, is this conditioned societal norm really serving me? When was the last time I asked that question? Or did I just start drinking when I was an 18-year-old and never really thought about it ever since? I think it's bringing so much more consciousness to this relationship and really allowing yourself to experiment. And once you try different things, you get to decide what works best for you. And so many people just discover that how much more energy they have, how much more motivation, how much more passion they have is just so much more evident in an alcohol-free lifestyle that they keep going. They're so excited about it. And they really change their lives in so many myriad of ways.
Very, very interesting. Now, personally, I've never been a big drinker. I'm more of a social drinker. But one of the things that I saw with certain people around me, all they wanted to do was just sit and drink. And it occurred to me, and I was like, okay, but they're not going anywhere with their lives. They don't have the passion. They don't have the drive. They don't have that where they wanted to make a change. So I had to get those people out of my life for lack of a better term, and kind of focus on me and focus on my drive. Now, Hope, I wanted to ask you pretty much the same question about how you made this decision to decide to work with children to be more a part of the decision-making process process. And when you hear Carolina speak as far as alcohol, I know you work with a lot of students. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so to start out, for me, I saw children being really disempowered in schools where they don't get to decide what they learn about, and they're often learning about things that either they're not passionate about or they're not interested in. And I was actually on a walk with a child and I was pointing out things. I was teaching these bug life cycles for the state curriculum standards, which is something I'm excited about. But the student turned to me and said, "Why can't I learn what I want to learn?" And that just kind of broke my heart. Like, of course, as adults, we get to pursue what we're passionate about, but why can't children start that sooner? Um, so that's what really got me into this line of work of helping children decide together. I just also like to mention that I came out with a book in November called Let's Decide Together, that's for parents and teachers to help decide together with children, because it's something I'm really passionate about. And as far as alcohol, that's really interesting to me. I have been alcohol free for a number of years, and I found that I really resonate with what you say, Carolina, about changing the relationship to alcohol. For me, it's made it more uncomfortable sometimes to have those conversations when friends are drinking. I think maybe because they feel a little bit judged. But for me, it's opened up more clarity in my life, and I enjoy being alcohol free.
Wow, that's wonderful. We have two people on the panel who are alcohol free making that decision. So, of course, we're going to go over to David and say, David, what are your thoughts on the conversation so far?
I love it. I really can relate and resonate with both Carolina and Hope. I think first from the alcohol free, that makes it three that are alcohol free. I haven't had alcohol since I was 19, and
Yeah.
really just made a decision, to give my life to God. And I said, you know what, I'm done with alcohol. And I do see that same clarity that they both expressed. And I also relate to Hope in the sense that growing up in a strict household where my parents are from Ghana, West Africa, and education was really key. And it was these certain careers that were more respected than others. So being forced as a child, I want to say forced, but nudged and encouraged to go into engineering when I realized in college I had no passion whatsoever for it. My second year as a mechanical engineering major, it's like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But those seeds were started in my childhood. So it was really comforting to hear what Hope is talking about, because I think that our youth, our young people need to be given opportunities to pursue their passions, their desires, what their natural gifts are. And that actually correlates back to what I do is, and it kind of is the nucleus of Kingdom Social Media, is that I have a really strong belief that we are supposed to discover our gifts, develop those gifts, and distribute those gifts to the world. So whether it's helping people with alcoholism, like Carolina is doing for women, whether it's helping young people and youth discover what their passions are and helping them make those decisions early in life, whether it's Sharifah putting together great minds together, we all have to find what our gifts are, and then we have to develop those gifts and talents. And then the last piece is the marketing of those gifts, because it doesn't matter how good we are at those things, if we don't have a marketing strategy behind it, then we're not going to be able to leverage it and maximize it to the maximum possible possibility. So yeah. All right.
No, that's okay. We got to figure out who you waving at. I need to know everything that's going on at all times. No, I'm just giving you a hard time, David. Seriously. But Hope, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. And I hear what David was saying about, his family gave him four choices. These are the things that you have to do. But on the other side, there would be people who say, okay, now we have the inmates running the asylum. They're never going to choose necessarily the things that they need. They may focus on the things that they want. What is your response to that?
I think that children go through a natural progression where when they're young, they're really interested in play and socializing. I also think that a lot of what's needed in the modern workforce is collaborative decision making, how to work together as a team, and those social, emotional, like so-called soft skills that really are what makes the world work. And I find that children get more interested in academics as they're transitioning into the later teenage years. They're thinking about who they are, what they want to do in the world, and how to get what they want. I think that if children are motivated to learn what they need to learn, that they can do anything. The sky's the limit. And that whether they want to go into a professional track or be an entrepreneur, if they want to pursue college, that they really know how to pursue their dreams because they've been setting their own goals. They have that intrinsic motivation and they know who they are. They know what they want. They've developed those gifts, like what David was saying. I really resonated with that. They've had time to think about that so that they're not just graduating from college, not knowing who they are and what they want to do with this degree that might be useless for them. So yeah, I find that the earlier children can have that decision-making power, it really leads to adults who are self-motivated and can get things done.
Yes. David, when you're working with your clients, do you see a pattern? Or I love patterns, but more people who have the creative freedom in their life to make their decisions are better entrepreneurs, better leaders?
Great question. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a wild, crazy statement, but I think that we're all in some way designed to be free, right? Meaning that not confined. And that doesn't mean you can't have a job. I think jobs are great. They have a place, but I believe we're not supposed to be confined. And I find that reason why I like working with entrepreneurs or speakers, trainers, coaches, consultants, or people doing their expertise is because they think differently, they feel differently, they act differently. And when you have that freedom, like to do what you're really passionate about doing, or pursuing something that you're learning about or curious about, it helps you to be a more open person to try new things, and it allows you to really build out your brand. So when I work with clients, one of the things we do is they come, they don't necessarily know all the pieces sometimes, or they have a few pieces together, and we help put that piece together. So for example, one of our clients right now is in the financial space. And the financial space, as we know, is very, very regulated. So we're coming at it from a whole different approach. He has a bend towards helping people learn their financial personalities, meaning how do they spend money, or say what's their disposition? Are they a saver? And then when you take all these kind of things, we can leverage that to social media, digital marketing, create some cool things around it. It goes back to what you said, Sharifah. It allows people to explore creatively, and I think not having that the confinements allows people to do that.
Absolutely. Carolina, would love to hear your thoughts on the conversation.
Absolutely. I resonate a lot with both of them. And I think back on my own lens of just growing up, and I feel like there's so much societal expectations placed on us, whether that's from our parents or what we think is deemed valuable by our society. And oftentimes we grow up very confused and not really knowing how to listen to ourselves. We tick off boxes thinking that that's what other people want, or that's what will give us a nice reputation or status. Kind of like Hope was saying, you graduate and then you're just like, well, I guess lawyer or doctor is the only option I could have because that's what's really valued in our society, without even asking yourself. And I think this comes to not just, kids graduating from college, but really even in adulthood. Like, we rarely really ask ourselves what we want, what we're passionate about, what our desires are. It almost seems like it's selfish to ask those kinds of questions. And I think that, when I've worked with women and they're transforming their relationships with alcohol, and myself as well, that becomes the forefront, because for so long, alcohol has taken this place as passive entertainment. It's something you do on Friday night. It's something that you think brings you fun or enjoyment. And you remove that kind of artificial dopamine manipulation from the brain, and you actually have to ask yourself, no, what really brings me joy? What is really fun for me? What really gives me passion? And it can be a really self-exploratory process to actually ask yourself, what do I care about? Are there social causes I care about? Or do I have a gift that I would love to share with the world? Or maybe I have this dream that I did have as a child. Like, I always wanted to write a book, or I always wanted to work with animals, or I always wanted to live by the sea. And I long ago put that on the shelf of a someday impossible goal, right? And so I think this idea of really being intrinsically really understanding of who you are and what you want can be a lifelong process. And I don't think we give ourselves the benefit of engaging in that kind of work as a society. So I think it's just so beautiful today that all of the speakers really are kind of pointing that, knowing yourself and being able to articulate your deeper dreams or your deeper passions can actually change the world, because then you step into a position of empowerment when you're sharing your gifts. You know, in my example, here I am now working with women over a topic that, you know, I personally struggled with. And it's like, I have overcome that challenge. I'm on the other side. My life is beautiful and so meaningful and so transformed. But now I can look behind me and I can help the woman behind me. And I think that many ways our deepest gifts are really tied to a deeper contribution for the world. And it's not necessarily, again, a position or a job that gets the most esteem in our world, or the one that ticks the boxes. But I think having that ability to go within and be able to ask questions of what you really want, or even explore that more, right? We don't know necessarily at the outset. Can exploratory kind of sense would be really beneficial for our society and really help us from living these unfulfilled lives, where we're really just going by the status quo of, you know, well, I was supposed to get married, I was supposed to have 2 kids, I was supposed to have this corporate job, you know, and then you wake up when you're 45 or 50 and you're like, where's my life, you know? I really think if we had these processes and these kind of exploratory systems a lot earlier in our lives, the world would be a better place. So I appreciate the conversation, definitely.
Absolutely. You guys are making me feel a little bad for having that glass of wine every now and then at the end of the day. I'm like, I have to be alcohol free too. But, you know, baby steps. I'm 45. You know what I mean? I'm still a work in progress. God's not done with me yet. But Carolina, one of the things that you said that was interesting is you say women. Was there a particular reason why you decided to just focus on working with women?
Absolutely. And I do actually work with some really introspective men too. But, you know, just as a female myself and someone who really identifies with some of the different pressures, the different valuation system of even women, it just seems that women are very much more attractive to my work. I also work in a very introspective process where you're really getting to know yourself. You're really going through some personal growth. You're really building a foundations of how to manage emotions, how to deal with critical thoughts, how to really form for yourself new rituals in your life that will make you a lot happier. And, you know, I think it's totally open to men too. And maybe this is a point of discussion, but in my line of work, it seems like women are raising their hands more. And I wonder necessarily why that is, if it's cultural or if it's still like a barrier for men to get as emotional or vulnerable or being able to go deep. I would love to maybe send that to the other participants. But yes, that is why I mainly work with women.
She was polite, but that was for you, David. She was like, David, let us know from a man's point of view.
Yeah. You know, ironically, 70% of my clients are women. I also, ironically, this aligns ironically because I speak at a lot of women's conferences as well, both here in the U.S. and internationally. And I've found, too, that I enjoy working with women more than men. And being a man, I'll tell you some of the reasons why. For me, from my perspective, women tend to be more open to more humble, I would say. Men can be very prideful and hard to learn something new or feel like, if you're teaching me something, then that means I don't know it. That means I have, and therefore my pride muscle has to come out. And women can be more open from general. Don't get me wrong. Women can have pride. Women can be humble. Men can be prideful. Men can be humble. So it can relate both ways. But what I've found, I just see more transformation and more change in the clients that I work with that are female because they're just open to it. And so I unashamedly in my marketing and our practices and all the things we do market to serve women.
So basically your target audience is women, but that's interesting. I understand being a business consultant, someone who's been in business for years. To me, it's the male ego that I've seen. I'm like, okay, a lot of men will be like, okay, well, I can't meet at your office. You have to meet at my office because I can't come to you. You have to come to me. And there's more of this kind of game playing that I've seen with men than with women. Well, women are just like, okay, let's meet. Let's get together. Let's make it happen. And it's less ego and a lot of different things that they do. But maybe this is it's not always like that. Maybe that's how they were as children. What do you see, Hope?
Yeah, I would say that for me, I've mostly worked with women because in education, many teachers are women. And for me, it's been important when I was running a school to hire men as well, so that boys had a role model that they could look up to, that they could identify with. And I've seen, in working with children, there are a lot of gender differences. And I feel like girls are more acculturated to be accommodating and also to be more collaborative and cooperative. And boys are encouraged to be more competitive and more individualistic. So something that's important to me is building that collaborative structure where, maybe the egos can get out of the way a little bit and people can talk and really listen to each other and hear each other's voices, hear each other's perspectives, hear each other's opinions. And I think regardless of if you're a man or a woman, that's a really valuable skill set.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes I think we go the other way, the other direction between collaboration, and some would consider it being a doormat where people just agree, just to get along with everyone else. How do you find that balance?
Right. I think in that sense, it's really important to listen to everybody and empower people to speak up for their own perspective. And so to not be a doormat, that's where the principle of consent comes in. And consent is basically saying, I'm okay with this, or I can see a reason this would be dangerous. I have an objection, means that something won't move forward until you address that objection. And I find that really empowering people to have different opinions, to say, I don't agree, or also that I don't stand for this, I stand for something different, is especially important for girls, to feel empowered, to feel like their voices really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's what you're doing with entrepreneurs, David, making sure they understand their voices really matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that I live by this quote that, when I ask myself or look at something in pursuing my passion or purpose, ask myself the question, how long am I going to be dead? It's not the most encouraging question, but
okay, wait, we got to pause during this show. I got to come back. How long am I going to be dead? Was that the question that we just asked ourselves? How long am I? Okay, I was just, at 45, my hearing is not what it used to be. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
Yeah, asking when you're going to do something or not do something, you ask yourself, how long am I going to be dead? And a lot of people think that you have another life to just go ahead and pursue after your passion or go after the gifts and developing those gifts that you have inside. And you really don't. Unfortunately, I see, we all have had loved ones pass away. We all see that there's viruses and things going on in the world, and you don't have the time that you think you have. And by the time you look up, life is over. And so I know it's a morbid way of looking at things, but that's what propels me. I ask myself that question on a regular basis. How can I help impact more people? I have a very audacious goal. And my audacious goal is to help 1 billion people. And I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, but I'm thinking beyond my lifetime, but help 1 billion people discover, develop, and distribute their gifts. So that means that they've identified, hey, what my gifts are. They're working on their gifts. And they're marketing their gifts and hopefully making a good income from those gifts. And that's what I live for. And that's what I die for. And I believe that through my work, I'm helping people to do those very things. And I want to help inspire more people to do the same.
Wow. I've never heard the question phrased like that. How long am I going to be dead? Wow. I mean, but why not just simply say, how long am I going to be alive? Then you could think about a number, you know what I mean? Like 100 years, 200 years. But also what you said about, I think that your goal is doable, honestly, because impacting 1 billion people is based on the idea of franchising. You can't do everything yourself, but between your circle and the people who you affect, those people can also ultimately affect other people, and it trickles out just like a pool or rock being thrown into the water. I am going to come back to you. We're going to continue this conversation after this brief commercial break.
You need jordansrooter.com. Get free estimates, 24-hour service, special discounts for seniors and veterans. That's jordansrooter.com. Have a home repair or some remodeling you need done? No problem. We can handle all that too. Give us a call today at 800-300-0358. At Jordan's Rooter, we take pride in our work and always make sure to get the job done right the first time. That's jordansrooter.com. We want to be your Mr. Fix-It.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
A good business consultant.
And I kept searching and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend. Problem gone.
thank you.
If you are just now tuning in to the Roundtable Talk Show, we've been asking ourselves some very important questions and discussing living an alcohol-free life. So I'm going to throw it over to Carolina to ask her the question. Have you ever asked yourself the question, how long am I going to be dead?
Probably not in those exact words, but I think that's a really motivating factor. To really understand, I think my deepest why is the fact that, as far as I know, right, as far as we all know, I do have this one life to live. And the thing is that I had long ago started snoozing on it. I think the thing is that our lives are obviously very short, but they're also very long, right? And we get into these routines, we get into these habits, we get into the status quo, into mediocrity. And just look at it in our society. Most people are unhealthy. Most people are working in unfulfilling careers. Most people are not happy with their relationships. This is the majority of people we're talking about feel this stuckness, feel this apathy, feel this unfulfillment in their lives. And I think because life is so long, we just get used to it. We just settle into a routine. And I remember before really believing this really damaging belief that in life, I get what I can get. Basically that I wasn't able to manifest the life I wanted, that I wasn't deserving even of that I could just get whatever I could get, this job if I could get it or whatever. I remember for so many years, I wanted to be an author and entrepreneur, but I actually thought that entrepreneurs were these white tech geniuses that lived in the Silicon Valley. Not this shy foreign kid right here, right? And so I told myself this story that I could never be an entrepreneur. And yet I knew I hated working for a boss. I knew I wanted to make a more direct impact in people's lives. I knew I wanted to really have more freedom lifestyle, travel, and just live the life that really is according to my desires and my dreams. And yet these limiting beliefs really kept me stuck from even getting started from the very first baby step. Same thing with being an author. I used to journal and write a lot when I was in high school and as a pre-teenager. And I completely stopped writing when I went to college, and I kind of picked up alcohol. And, every New Year's I would have this resolution because I knew I still wanted to write a book one day. And I would tell myself, okay, this is the year that I write a book. This is the year I write a book. Every single year, I never wrote more than a paragraph. And it wasn't until I, changed my relationship with alcohol and stopped drinking that year that I literally wrote this book. I started journaling. I started writing early in the morning, and little baby step by little baby step, it all started happening for me. I got the book deal, I got it published, and now here it is, right? And it actually took me 4 years to get this book on the table. And I think sometimes when we look at our dreams, like when we're at the very beginning, when we're just kind of waking up from the slumber of whatever kind of status quo or mediocrity we are in, our dreams look so monumental, right? They're just this huge mountain. And we have no idea where to start. We have no idea what to do. And I think most of us are really embarrassed about starting out small. We're embarrassed to be seen starting as a beginner, starting out small. So we just push it off and we just don't work on it. We just don't know what to do. And I love some of the, analogies that a lot of personal growth leaders have shared over time, is that like you just start with the first brick and then you lay another brick and another brick. And before you know it, you have a house. And I think that we can get really demoralized by something that sounds so monumental and so impossible. But something I like to remember too is that the time is going to pass by either way. Our lives will pass by either way. In 5 years, it's going to be 2026. No matter what, we can't stop that, right? So if the time is going to pass by either way, wouldn't it be worth it to work on the things you're most passionate on? Wouldn't it be worth it to, develop that part of yourself, even if it takes a long time to actually get to the point where you want to go? Time is going to pass by either way. This book took 4 years to write. And yet, 4 years later, I now have a book on bookshelves, right? So I think it can be really intimidating to be on the other side of the conversation and just being like, well, how am I supposed to achieve these big monumental dreams and just live for my passion? And yet sometimes we just have to, show ourselves that there are these little steps, these little milestones, these little goals. And, it can really make for a much more fulfilling life when you start awakening that part of yourself instead of snoozing on it. I think for the most reason, to answer your question, we snooze and that we let our lives go by ultimately in fear. I think we're scared of failure. I think we're scared of trying. I think we're scared even of success a little bit, like, am I going to be stalked if I'm super successful? And so we let fear really run our lives and just do what's safe and easy. But the thing is that safe and easy is ultimately usually not very fulfilling.
Not very fulfilling at all. Hope, have you asked yourself the question, how long am I going to be dead?
Never in those words. I think it's really interesting, but it's interesting to think about like the larger arc of human history and how we affect people and what our impact is on the world. I do think a lot about kind of deathbed regrets and wanting to, when I get to the end of my life, wanting to be able to look back and say, I'm really proud of my decisions. And I feel like I spent my time well. I also think Carolina's story is really inspiring in terms of like having those passions and having those relationships, having it come to fruition, finding something that you're really proud of doing. And yeah, I think a lot about valuing time with my friends and family as well as professional pursuits, and just making sure that I'm living in integrity with my values. And yeah, the last thing I would say is just that for me, having a work that I really believe in feels really important to me. And also the core of my work is empowering children to live meaningful lives now. So not, no matter how long their lives are, that they have that experience of living a deeply meaningful life, and having the time to pursue their dreams, pursue their passions, build relationships that are fulfilling to them.
Mm-hmm. And you're helping other people to open up these schools, correct?
Yeah, I work with school leaders and teachers to help implement these practices, especially the decision-making skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we definitely need more people like yourself out there helping others. Now, David, I did a little survey. Oh, I had to work with what I had. Okay,
Yeah.
I had 2 people, but I did a survey, and from what I saw, no one has asked themselves that question: how long will I be dead?
Right. Yeah, it's not something. People think about it, but maybe they don't. Like they both said, maybe they didn't put it in those exact words. But the truth is that we are all every day getting. I know it's. I hate to be the morbid one on the call, but we're getting closer and closer to death every day. And so why not live? Why not go and pursue that dream? Why not go and write that book, be an entrepreneur? Why not go empower young people and young youth? Why not put together a talk show? So I think that for me, that's some of the things that motivates me. And I think about that often, and I think about impact, and I think about even the work that I do. I'm not. We're just in our company, Kingdom Social Media. We're not just in every other digital marketing company, digital marketing agency that runs ads and LinkedIn and marketing campaigns. We have a deep care for our clients, and that stands for collaborative, accountable, responsive, empathetic. And that comes from the standpoint of understanding that everyone needs to share their gifts. And so we take a process through that in everything we do. It's part of our values, it's part of our culture to really understand deeply what is this person's contribution to the world. What do they want to do? What, of course, financial impact. What are they going to make from that? But what are they going to produce from an impact perspective in their legacy? What are they going to leave with the earth when they're gone? So this whole value of looking at things from this perspective is it goes into my business, it goes into my personal life, it goes into every core of my being.
Is that a part of your vetting process when you're taking on new clients?
Well, we have a kind of we do it subtly. We don't directly have certain screening questions that like, hey, for you to become a client, does this line? We kind of look towards in our process. We look towards how the person is and what their motives are. So don't get me wrong. Everybody's in business to make money. So that is a core value that everyone, in business wants to produce, and, and from their marketing, they want to see return on their investment. But we also look for, in addition to that goal to produce revenue, what do they want to do? Why do they want to do it? So we do ask those questions to understand why are you doing this anyway? What if you're a billionaire, if you're a multimillionaire, what is the reason for you to do this when you don't need the money? Why do you pursue this goal? So, and often we'll have clients that do align. We tend to attract the right people, so and repel the wrong people.
So when you repel the wrong people, have there been clients where you just said, you know what, their why, their reason just does not resonate or match with this company, and they're not someone I would like to work with? I mean, I think that's especially important for a social media company. And the reason I say that is because one of the things that social media companies do is we put the words in the mouths of other companies. So we have to resonate with that message. We have to be able to have our thinking, our mindset aligned so that we can speak for someone else. So it's nothing worse than trying to speak for someone and you're not on the same page.
Yeah, agreed. We do have certain scenarios where somebody will come to us purely for the social media aspect of growing their business, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we have had clients like that, and we've served them. Is it our most fulfilling, thrilling work? No. So in 2022, we really are narrowing our focus. So to really hone in and it's hard sometimes to say no, especially when you have a growing team and things of that nature. But that's going to be our number one word in 2022. It's no. Sorry, we can't do that. So we will be saying no to more people that don't align all the way, or they align in a certain aspect. But we're really confining our process. Less is more in 2022 for us.
What about Hope's process and what Hope is doing? I think she's someone who would align very well with your company.
Phenomenal. I mean, I'm impressed. Like, I wish I was a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old, so that I could grow up and be the person I always wanted. Well, I'm working on that, but you know what I mean. Like to have that in my youth, I think is tremendous, and I actually look forward to building with both Hope and Carolina after this interview as well.
Absolutely. We're going to have Carolina over there work with students to make sure that they don't live that life of alcohol. Carolina was doing a lot of partying. I know, I could tell. No, I'm wrong. College was fun.
College.
Hope, when you hear David speak about the message and working with certain people and wishing he was a 6-year-old, just so he could work with you, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important to be with people who feed you, and yeah, I would have loved to work with you as a 6-year-old, David. That would be really fun. I think also when I hear you talk about your work, it makes me think about how people connect to their own values and their own mission or purpose in life, and that social media marketing is really about communicating who they are as a person, and how important it is to know who you are. So I'm seeing a lot of threads together in our work, and also Carolina's work in terms of helping people discover, who they are and what they value.
Mm-hmm. So Carolina, we're going to bring you on board, get you some social media assistance to promote your book. What are your thoughts on what David had to say?
Well, I really think that there are times in our lives when we do kind of have these awakenings, and that we really have to ask ourselves what our values are and what we really want. What are our priorities? And, a lot of times I think we know what's important, but then we don't act that way. We don't actually value that or prioritize that in our lifetime, whether that's, taking a chance, taking a risk, growth. Growth is so interesting with both all of our hosts today is that we often are challenged to grow a lot when we're young, right? We learn a lot of things. We grow emotionally, we grow spiritually. And yet in our society, I feel like we reach this plateau as adults and we stop really kind of growing. Maybe there's a new work project that could kind of stretch our limits or something, but ultimately we don't really live in a culture of growing after that. And I think that's one of the things that's really missing in our society, because growth initiates that you will always be making progress. And I think that's one of our deepest human needs, is to make progress in our lives, not to necessarily reach this zenith. We're never going to reach the zenith. And it's not necessarily about the goals themselves. It's who you become in the process, right? So when I help women go alcohol free, it really isn't about sobriety. I literally could care less what's in your glass. I don't care what people drink at the end of the day. It's really who you become in the process of letting go of something that isn't really serving you, of something you're using as a crutch to outsource your confidence or your relaxation or your sociability, and really discovering how to find those tools within. And in the space that you create, then you're able to really determine what you want most. So you remove what doesn't serve you so that you can welcome in what you want most in the world. And I think that, having this perspective of growth and aligning your life to your values, as both participants spoke about, can be something so deep, because I think we value certain things and then we live in incongruence with those values. And that's where our deepest pain comes from. You say you value growth, or you say you value health, or you say you value, achievement, or you say you value all these things. But if you're not living your life in accordance with those values, I think that's where we feel the deepest disconnect with our intuition. And I think our intuition is a really big part of it as well. When there's a voice that says to us, you're made for more. And I think we've all heard that voice. I think we've all found ourselves in situations where we've heard that voice. You are made for more. Or you are made to be more. You are made to share your wisdom or your challenges or your way that you've developed a new system or way that you've innovated a certain field with the world. And I think that what's really cool about all of us on this show is that we've all heard that call and we all listened. Maybe we didn't listen at first. Maybe it took a while, a few tappings on the head, but we actually did listen. And then we took something that, we have a lot of passion over and probably a lot of fear. Like, what if this fails? What if people don't care? What if I'm just, a needle in a haystack? And yet we worked through those fears to go through it and to achieve something bigger. And that means something that really creates a ripple effect now in the society around us. And I think that's just the most beautiful thing when you do listen to that voice, is it's really not about you ultimately at the end of the day. It really helps you show up as the best version of yourself. That does create that ripple effect. When you are working on your passions and sharing them with the world, you are showing other people what's possible and then igniting their own inspiration to go after what they want, and I think it's just so beautiful in all these different domains, all these different ways that we've all kind of risen up in our fields. Sometimes that ripple effect, that impact that you can make is so much bigger than even just the people you're speaking with. It's so beautiful.
No, I agree. I heard that voice. I was wandering in the wilderness and I said, "Is that you, Lord?" So yes, I heard it. And that was when I got laid off 8 times and God was like, "Help the people." And I was like, people? I'm not really a big fan of people, but after 8 layoffs and I kept hearing that voice say, "No, you're going to help people." That's what I spend my life doing now, helping people. Now, for a question for you, Carolina, I meant to ask you this, because you mentioned that you help women live an alcohol-free life. You work with them, you coach them. So I just want to be clear for our audience who is watching. What is like the tangible aspect that you help them achieve or get to when working with you? Do you have ways to help them become published authors, help them become an entrepreneur? What specifically do you work with them after, because they put the alcohol down? Now, what do they do?
Absolutely. So I work usually with a discovery process. So if someone doesn't know the answer to that question yet, like I remember feeling pretty apathetic and just like, I had these dreams from when I was younger, but I wasn't really sure. Just working through a discovery process of how we get to know their personalities, their unique gifts, their unique passions, and really exploring that. So for example, I have a week in one of my programs where people are actually asked to go do things they've always wanted to try, like really random things like tango dancing or, paddleboard yoga or a writing workshop or a Zumba class, like just really get out there and learn what it is to, try something new and try something where you're a beginner again. And that can often ignite like a deeper creativity. And it's not necessarily that they're going to be, a tango dancer from now on or something, but ignites this creativity within them to discover what that passion is. And then once we determine that together, yes, I have helped clients quit their jobs, launch businesses, write their own books, launch nonprofits. I have this one client. She's so incredible. She was working this corporate job, just really successful in all ends of that, but she wasn't fulfilled. And she just decided to quit her job, move to France, and she moved her family there. They're going to live there for a year as she explores the country and writes a memoir about her experience. Now, to me, that's like an eat, pray, love story. And how much courage does it take to really listen to that type of desire for yourself and just have faith that it's going to work out, have faith that even though you're worried about the bills or the job or all the things, or what if on my resume, I'm out for a whole year, she listened to the voice of faith about what was really guiding her. And I think when we listen to that voice of having faith, and we take the leap of faith, the universe catches us. And there's so many opportunities that we couldn't even think of before that all of a sudden start appearing. And I think it's really just so beautiful when you do listen to that intuition, to that voice of, you were made for more, or you're meant to help people, is like, we can't see the how, like, whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever divine force is out there, we can't see the how. We don't know, how it's all going to lay out. None of us even do quite yet right now. but you keep listening to the littlest baby step, the littlest nudge from your intuition, however small or quiet it is, it's often can be very quiet. And it knows, right? She knows or he knows. And we can all ultimately start building this this life really based on having faith that we are being guided by something bigger than us, that all of our lives have meaning, and that we are all have this purpose to fulfill this deeper meaning. And we have to be open to it. We have to be able to listen to it. And I think that's my favorite thing about working with women that I work with is literally, again, it's not about the alcohol whatsoever. It's about finding a deeper passion and deeper meaning in your life. And I've just not seen just such a transformative process. Like, you get rid of sugar in your diet, I'm sure you'll feel healthier, but I've never heard of people being like, oh, and then I had the confidence to become an entrepreneur. But with alcohol, it's just this crazy thing, because I think we rest so many limiting beliefs on alcohol in our lives. Like, oh, it's something that makes me more social, or it's something that gets me out of my shell, or it's something that really relaxes me, that we kind of give away our power to it. We kind of put so many crutches on it. And when you take away those limiting beliefs, you start scrapping at all the other limiting beliefs. Like if you believe that a drink would make you more confident when you're socializing, and you can completely debunk that and you find the confidence within, it's almost like, well, if I could do this, what else could I do? And that confidence starts spilling over into other areas of your life, which I just think is so beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, Hope, Carolina talked about her process. It took her 4 years to write her book. What was the process like for you? And was that an easy process for you to write your book?
Yeah, so I think for me, the process of the life experience that went into the book was more like 4 to 6 years. But actually writing, I just started in March.
Wow.
So really, and it was a matter of working with this organization, Sociocracy for All, that works to kind of change structures for a better world, the way that people work together, and governance as like an alternative to democracy. It's like governance amongst equals. So I was working with Sociocracy for All as a volunteer and taking some classes with them so that I could be a better trainer and consultant for schools. And one of the leaders there said, why don't you have so much experience, there's nobody talking about doing this with children, why don't you write a book? And I was like, okay, sure. And then I started, and it came out really easily because it's step-by-step processes that I'm very familiar with, and kind of set out into meeting agendas so that whether you're in a family meeting or a school meeting, you have some structure and processes to help you make decisions together in a more egalitarian way, instead of having that power over structure, having a power with structure. Because it's really about changing systems and changing the way that we relate to each other in the workplace, at home, so that everybody's needs are met, everybody's voices are heard. And I just want to shout out to my publisher, Sociocracy for All, because they're doing a lot of work in the world to change systems, and to have a more egalitarian world where everybody's voices are heard and everybody's needs are met.
Oh, that is so wonderful. I love it. Now we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we're going to start with you, Carolina.
Great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. And, if my story or what I do piques your interest even just a little, I just want you to know it's not black and white thinking. It's not you have to quit alcohol forever. I think we often start a habit or some kind of lifestyle when we're much younger, and then we let that younger habit kind of become this unconscious thing in our life, or this outdated relationship. Like Sharifah joked about, I partied a lot in college, right? And sure, that was fun or whatnot, but that version of myself is not the woman who I'm hoping to become today, right? I have to sometimes shed things that don't serve me any longer to evolve into the woman I'm supposed to be. And so if this piqued your interest, again, it's not about black and white thinking. It's not about quitting drinking forever. It's allowing yourself to explore what life could feel like when you remove alcohol. And so I help people actually just take their first break, let's just design an experiment where we take a break from alcohol and we really compare apples to oranges, like what you feel like as a drinker, what you feel like without alcohol in your life. And from there, you can really enjoy so many benefits. My book goes over all the benefits you'll experience, from the physical health to your mental health, to your soulful, just these soulful connections with the universe and yourself that you'll feel and other people. And then also walks you through an 8-week plan so that you're guided every single step of the way, how to navigate your social life, what to say, how to manage stress or new emotions that are coming up, and then also how to discover what those deeper passions are inside. So, if you're interested, if this piqued your interest, I encourage you to lean in. I encourage you to lean into something that might feel vulnerable or scary or just weird and off in our society, and just allow yourself to learn more about it. So my book, Euphoric, Ditch Alcohol and Gain a Happier and More Confident You, will be on bookshelves January 4th, and you can pre-order your copy today at www.euphoricbook.com. And when you pre-order today, you'll get your copy like on January 4th or 5th. So if you're thinking of doing Dry January, for example, which is one of the most popular times of year to take a break from alcohol, to really reset, really get healthy, really get mindful about it, this book will be the perfect companion, and you'll get it right away in January if you pre-order today. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here. And I think we just need to be more curious, more introspective, more aware about parts of our lives. And that's how we really fall into our deeper purpose. And if it feels good to start here and see what happens for you, what doors open for you.
I love it. You're a marketer. You got that message down packed on what to say about your book. I'm pretty sure people are going to check it out. There's so many benefits to not being a drinker. Like I said, I do have an occasional glass of wine at the evening, sometimes if I want to relax. But one of the main reasons, and it may seem silly that I don't drink that much, is I believe in staying ready. Like if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, and my phone rings and I have to go to meetings and all over the place. And the last thing you want is somebody to call and say, Sharifah, I need you at an appearance. And you're like, I can't, I'm drunk. No, that will never, ever, ever be me. Thank you, Carolina, for joining us. Hope, what do you have for the people?
Yeah, so something that I've seen a lot of is both teachers and parents struggling with how to have a compassionate relationship with children rather than resorting to an authoritarian style when they're struggling with things like how to get chores done or how to manage a rowdy classroom. And what I've seen is that the decision-making methods that I teach not only lead to empowerment for children and greater responsibility and independence for children, but also they lead to more harmonious relationships and a style that's more egalitarian in both the classroom and at home. So I would invite people to check out my book, Let's Decide Together. And it's a comprehensive workbook for learning sociocracy, a form of democratic governance with children. And you can learn more about it at hopewildertraining.com or sociocracyforall.org.
I love it. Thank you, Hope. Have to check it out. David, what do you have for the people?
Yeah, so I would say these words from a friend and mentor of mine. Says, you're making an impact whether you want to or not. So you really have to understand the power of your gifts, your power of your talents and abilities. And I know this kind of may seem contrary, but I believe by not doing what you're supposed to do, you're impacting lives negatively. So, for example, if Hope is supposed to help people that, young people that are finding their passions, their desires, and she doesn't do the work she's doing. I know this sounds crazy. I know I've been the guy talking crazy all day, all this afternoon, morning. But if Hope doesn't help the people she's supposed to help, those young people, then those young people could end up someday living a distressed life, depressed life, even maybe suicidal lives. Same for Carolina. If Carolina is not doing the work that she's supposed to do and the work that she's found as her purpose, there are women on the other side of that who are probably going to go into bad relationships or bad circumstances or even death by not pursuing their goals. And same for Sharifah. If you're not doing the work you're doing, there's people that may feel meaningless in their work. So I just encourage people that you are making an impact whether you want to or not. So you might as well try to make a positive one. And there are two ways that we help people. One, from the discovery side, if you're a person that says, I don't know what my gifts are, I don't know what my talents are. I have, like I said, I have an audacious goal to reach 1 billion people to help discover, develop, and distribute their gifts. You can go to Spotify, you just type in the Purpose Gift Tape. I have a whole motivational mixtape that is encouraging people about your gifts, about your things. So it's completely free. You can just go there, Purpose Gift Tape. You look it up there. You can get it there. Then on the other side, for those who've discovered their gifts and need help to market their gifts, we help speakers, trainers, coaches, consultants take what's in their mind, their intellectual property, and monetize their minds through courses, through programs, through marketing their services through webinars. We have a service called White Glove Webinars to help you to market your gift online. And that you can find more information about at kingdomsocialmedia.com, or you can email me directly at david@kingdomsocialmedia.com. Thank you, Sharifah. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Hope.
You are so welcome. We're going to have a quick Sharifah Hardie session with you, David. There's nothing that you said that sounded crazy. There was nothing that you said that was unbelievable or so out of the ordinary. I believe that wholeheartedly, that everything that I do is to help someone else, which is one reason I'm so authentic about my story. You know, being laid off 8 times, being homeless, losing everything I had but the clothes on my back, being divorced twice, all these different experiences is because it's not about me. It's about helping someone else because maybe they needed that information in order to change their lives. So crazy, no, I take that word out of your vocabulary completely. You are amazing. Stand in your amazingness. I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. I definitely appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing. But as always, the most important thing to me is that you support our guests. Our guests were here this morning to share their talents, their information, their expertise with you. So please support them. Their website link is in the Facebook post. Follow them on social media. Reach out to them. Send them a message. And when you do, please let them know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Now, if you're interested in more ways that I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest on the Roundtable Talk Show, please visit my website at AskSharifah.com. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a